We were at the Cowichan Rugby Club in Duncan today to watch the clash between Velox and Cowichan. We arrived just at the end of the women's game, which was won by Velox, and had a chance to chat with a few of the women while enjoying a brew in the clubhouse. We caught up with Becky K of Cowichan and asked what it's like to juggle the responsibilities of playing rugby and being a mum.
Being a rugby mom is great. It's nice to be able to do both, for sure. It's hard to focus on rugby. I've got other things that sometimes I kind of wish I was doing instead, but it feels really good to get in shape and be fit again and be able to participate.
Meanwhile, as the men came onto the field to prepare for their game, I had a chance to talk to John James, past president of the Cowichan Rugby Club, about the facility improvements made at the club over the last year.
At the Cowichan Rugby Club, a couple years ago, we decided to apply for some grant dollars from BC Gaming and Western Canadian Diversification Project, and we secured about $160,000, $170,000, matched that with our own fundraising, and we're able to secure two full international rugby fields, and we're now finished the field part of it. Got a little bit of landscaping to do. Unfortunately, we had to take our stands down, and wooden grandstands these days are uninsurable. So our next project is to install some metal grandstands and some more work in the parking lot. So it's been super successful with our tournament last weekend. We were able to have 22 games in a weekend. Both fields were full on for both days. And usually this time of year, here at the Cowichan Rugby Club, it's usually a mud pit. But as you can see, both fields are in pretty good shape, and we're hoping that after one more year of grass growth, we'll be in better shape next year.
As far as the game itself, Cowichan stormed out to an early lead, and Velox were playing desperation catch-up all afternoon. Velox were pressing when an errant pass from Velox number 10, Dean Van Camp, found an eager piggy waiting to scamper the length of the field to the delight of the home fans.
Gone! He's gone! 17.
Mike Pletch led the comeback for the Valhallians, maintaining low body position to drive over the line after a series of pick-and-goes from the forwards. Velox continued to apply pressure, however, and battered the Cowichan line with close-in running to score 3 consecutive tries and pull out a 25-20 victory.
Don't look at the run! Don't look at the run!
After the game, we talked to the head coaches. First, John McMillan of Velox.
I guess our focus so far this year has been to integrate the Premier team and the First Division team. I've said to the guys as often as possible that the stronger the base is at the First Division, the better the performance is going to be with the Premier side. So we've been liberally moving guys up and down, and some been promoted and rewarded for playing well, and other guys who've had off days have been pushed down, and we've just tried to add strength and depth and let guys know that if they play well and work hard, that we'll move them up, and if their performances are off a bit, we'll move them down. And I think we're just chasing that competitive environment within the club and making sure that the guys who are here week in and week out are going to play and going to be rewarded for their efforts. So far it's gone along pretty well. We're getting great numbers to training, and they're challenging each other, and that's part of the change in the culture that we needed to see, and it's going to take more time to continue to build that, but so far the early indicators are all pretty good.
We also talked to Chris Evans about the Cowichan team, the game, and his son Matt Evans, who is playing in Wales.
I think this season we've been very fortunate to enlist the help of Tate from Rugby Canada. He's done a lot of work with both teams, First Div and Prems, but our big problem, as always, is numbers, and we're one of the few teams, I guess, that has to go out on a Saturday without any fresh leg subs at Prems level, and sometimes really scratching for First Div. But with the exception of last week's game, when we were totally outclassed down at UVic, I think we've put up some pretty sterling performances in the league games so far, certainly at Prems level. Our First Div are a bit weak, I'm afraid, but we'll keep trying. This afternoon's game against Velox, very similar to the game that we played down at Velox a month ago, in that we got a reasonably healthy lead but couldn't hold on to it. I think as these other teams in the league bring on fresh legs, we tend to run out of steam a bit. But we'll keep trying. And I couldn't be prouder of the guys than I was today, because to come back from that shellacking last week took a lot of guts, and they actually rose to the occasion, and I thought toughed it out to the bitter end there. Fortunate enough to have been taken on by Newport Gwent Dragons in the Magners League, but hasn't been that successful so far. He played against some quality opposition in the pre-season warm-ups in London Irish and Cardiff Blues, and he didn't perform too well. So although he's had one Magners League game against Glasgow, which was one of the few games that the Dragons won early on, he's been basically playing for Newport Rugby Club in the Welsh Premier League, and he's been enjoying that, but it's not where he wants to be. They've been quite successful. He's had some tough games, but unfortunately picked up a knee injury a couple of weeks back, which turns out to be hopefully not as bad as he first thought, and I hope he'll be joining up with the Canada senior men's squad on Monday.
And the final word goes to Clancy MacDonald. We asked him to talk about his experience playing rugby in Canada compared to Australia. Take it away, Clancy.
Hi, so my name's Clancy MacDonald, and I guess Mark's asked me to talk a bit about the rugby I've played both here, and obviously I'm from Australia. So I guess I came over in 2002. The last time I played really competitive rugby in Australia, although not an elite standard, was 2001 and started 2002. So I've been living here since. I've been involved in a few clubs, predominantly Velox in Victoria. And I guess some of the differences that I notice are, for one, the numbers, right, and the depth. And that might sound obvious, but I guess it then builds a culture, and within every club, that I was involved in back in Australia or whatever, there's just so many more people, that there's so much more competition for every space and every selection. And I guess that breeds a sort of culture where, there's a lot of commitment to the common cause from a very early stage, and you get that from your youngest years building up. So I guess then you come over to Canada, and it's not that there aren't good players, or there's no common cause, or there's no good commitment or anything, because there's lots of that stuff, but it's harder to meet that 1 through 22 and sort of first 15, second 15, third 15. And some clubs do really well, the big clubs like James Bay and UVic, Capillanos, they've got really strong rugby programs. Velox is still growing, relatively young compared to some of the other clubs. So that's sort of a direction that I see as a focus point for Velox and for any club to be moving forward. Then sort of the actual game, the way it's played and skill-wise, I guess back home for me, every guy on the field will have a greater sort of general awareness of rugby skills and knowledge. More people will read the game better, and then that just breeds sort of a better sort of team skill level all over. So those are some differences I've seen. But having said that, there's also some just the classic rugby sort of psyche, and that's really well represented here on Vancouver Island, BC, Canada in general. you know, and that's like why we do it. We like to get out and have fun and run around, and it's exercise, and you're doing it with your mates, and you know, there's the social aspect obviously, and good performances when they start to come along, you know, like a team effort, like it's really, really rewarding, and there's opportunity for self-expression and team expression, and so that's what I think is pretty good about the game. So then you come up to Cowichan on a Saturday, and you know, our first division had a really good game. It was one of our best in a couple of years for sure. Our premier side is still struggling to meet the standards that it's sort of setting for itself. But you know, the goal is for that to arrive, and plans are being put in place. So hopefully that comes along. And have a good day.